Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hello everybody, Alex Stephenson and Jake Faas here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Recently got involved with Reddit, so if you're from Reddit checking this out, I just want to inform you to go to SeemsGoodMagic.com if you want to see Born of the Gods draft content. We're also doing a card giveaway every week where I ask a question, and if you leave a comment on the YouTube video, subscribe to our channel, and you have a chance to win a free card every week. And I try to do semi-unusual cards like F&M promos, you know, stuff that you get from winning, or is it the top two get promos typically?
It depends on
I guess
where.
the store.
The store totally determines how they give those promos out.
But I know people are interested in the F&M promos because they specifically do ones that are in standard, so people can jam them in their decks.
Yeah.
So I know those are giveaways, and this, like, people enjoy. And this week we're doing Biden to Plaza. So if you're a mono blue player, and maybe you already have Bidens, but these are the cool promo ones, so maybe you like those more. But anyway, SeemsGoodMagic.com to check up on draft videos, card giveaway videos, and the video podcast library that we have. You can also listen to us on iTunes if you just can only have the audio version at work or something like that, and can't have a window up playing this video podcast. We offer both, so if you're at work, you can just listen to it on iTunes, and we try to make it as accessible for listeners as it is for viewers.
So we'll try and tell you what our cards are generally instead of just show you the list. But
yeah, we'll show pictures and we probably read it out loud too. But mortarpod@seemsgoodmagic.com is our email if you want to contact us with any info or any criticism, comments, whatever. I'll respond to it. And at SeemsGoodMagic is our Twitter, so you can follow us on there, and we tweet when we put up new videos. And I put up a couple Chromanticore videos on Reddit as well, so if you saw those, maybe you're seeing this podcast too. But
are you done with drafting Chromanticore?
No, I'm gonna keep going. That card is, both times I went 2-1 in Swiss with it, and then I went lost in the first round of an 8-4. But even in the 8-4, I felt good about it, and I took a game. So I've strange as it is to say it, I never thought I'd say I like drafting Chromanticore. It's fun.
That's
you get a lot of color. Having all the color options is actually really interesting, and the fixing is actually really good.
Yeah. Do you play Unknown Shores at all?
Yes.
As
Actually,
like
both decks had Unknown Shores. I've also had Burnished Heart in both decks. Very important card.
Very important.
I like
it's uncommon too, so a little harder to see.
Karametra's Favor plays well. Traveler's Amulet, of course, good, and Nylea's Presence.
Yeah.
So Opaline Unicorn, which I did play today as well. So there's some really good fixing.
Yeah, there are actually really good fixing.
There's plenty of it. So you can make Chromanticore deck happen a little bit easier than it looks. Definitely easier than it looks.
Well, if you look at it and initially it's like, this isn't a multicolored block. You can't do that. So it does make it a little interesting to hear that it's possible, I guess. Yeah.
Definitely, and fun. But check those videos out. Anyway, we're going to break down some F&M results for Jake, and then I'm going to talk about my PTQ Minneapolis results, and both are standard constructed. I don't know if other people's F&Ms are doing other formats or drafts but ours does standard every Friday. So let's jump into metagame breakdown.
Soon I'll incorporate mouth opening.
I like it. Metagame breakdown, everybody. Okay, Jake, you want to talk about your F&M experience?
Yeah, I'm
maybe
just
your
gonna,
deck a little bit too. Yeah.
I'm playing my Planeswalker deck, so if you guys have tuned in previously, you are pretty familiar with it. But if not, I'll just run through the list quick. It's 3 Ashiok, 2 Kiora, 4 Jace, Architect of Thought, 2 Vraska, and 2 Elspeth. Then 1 Elixir of Immortality, 1 Swan Song, 2 Essence Scatter, 1 Last Breath, 1 Doomblade, 1 Rapid Hybridization, 4 Detention Sphere, 4 Supreme Verdict, 2 Far and Away, and 4 Sphinx's Revelation. And then it's 3 Islands, 3 Plains, 4 Hallowed Fountain, 3 Temple of Enlightenment, 2 Temple of Silence, 1 Godless Shrine, 2 Temple of Mystery, 1 Breeding Pool, 2 Temple of Plenty, 1 Temple Garden, 3 Temple of Deceit, and 1 Watery Grave. And then for my sideboard, I play 1 Swan Song, 1 Pithing Needle, 1 Doomblade, 1 Last Breath, 2 Negate, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Revoke Existence, 1 Jace Memory Adept, 1 Palisade Giant, 1 Notion Thief, 1 Rapid Hybridization, and 1 Reap Intellect.
Maybe you want to talk about what you've changed since the last time, because there were a couple changes we had to update to your list on this Word doc.
Yeah, I think that I feel like I actually played this list last time, and the list just didn't get saved in that document before.
Oh, okay.
Because I do feel like we updated it right after the last F&M, but if not, I'll just run down what I had changed previously.
Okay.
I was running 2 Last Breaths in the main and 2 Celestial Purge,
Celestial Flare.
Or Celestial Flare, yes, excuse me, which was more like the white-blue control deck that I was kind of basing this off of, or at least building the core from. And I'm not doing that anymore because not that Celestial Flare was too difficult to cast at double white either, more that I just wasn't happy with the result I was getting from that card specifically. So I went to 1 Doomblade because in our meta, Mono Black hadn't really been around doing anything, and it still really isn't a huge force to be reckoned with in our meta. And I added 2 Far and Aways, and so I had only 1 Last Breath after that, and 1 in the side. That was the biggest change. Otherwise, I also dropped an island so that I could add another temple, and I put in the Temple of Deceit. Because I was playing Far and Away and Doomblade, I needed a little more black than the green, and I just wanted to have another Scryland, and that one was the one that fit the bill the best, just because it could also get me double blue for Jace. And I figured since Elspeth is double white but at 6 mana, and Ashiok and Jace are both early game plays, and I need to get them both out and online early, that the black-blue was probably the more relevant one. Out of the sideboard, I did add some Ratchet Bombs because I was afraid that maybe aggro was going to be coming up or whatever, and there were a lot more aggro decks I felt like this time. I'm glad I had it against one of my matchups for sure. Other than that, I would just pretty much playing 1 more of a lot of the removal spells that I'm playing or the counters that I'm playing main deck. So it's 1 more Swan Song, 1 more Doomblade, 1 more Last Breath, and 1 more Rapid Hybridization, and you just bring those in as appropriate and remove the one that doesn't work,
And what does Reap Intellect do again?
It's the 4 and X, and like Lobotomy for X.
Oh, okay.
So,
did you get a chance to use it at all?
No, I haven't played a control deck since I put it in. So I am taking some cards out of my sideboard because of this, and it's going to be Reap Intellect. I'm kind of done with Palisade Giant too, even though it's had okay results when I've played it. I'm just kind of done with it. It is the 6-drop, and the decks that I want to bring it in against, it's like usually they're aggressive decks.
Okay.
I'd rather just have the Ratchet Bombs, They're a more relevant anti-aggro threat.
What do you think you'd name against like a blue-white control deck?
Well, Reap Intellect isn't named. Are you saying for Slaughter Games?
Oh, I see. So Reap Intellect is you just
look at their hand. They reveal their hand to you, and you choose X of them, and then you get to search their library, graveyard, and hand for X cards. Or for
I see.
All of their copies of those cards.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't end up doing as good this week as you have been doing the last couple weeks. I actually think it's shifting to more mono black, unfortunately.
Yeah, it had been the deck that wasn't around, and now it's like kind of showing up a little more.
People are
I
switching.
didn't really play it myself. I played the black-red aggro deck that I played against, but I think that was just, I kept a really shaky last hand, really, really shaky. It had the 2-mana Ratchet Bomb and like everything was set to go, but I only had a Scryland, and I shouldn't have kept it.
That's
Yeah.
always way too dangerous.
Yeah, but I had double Supreme Verdict too, so I was like, if I could just get lands, then this is like gonna and 2 Jaces. So it was like I actually had the complete anti-aggro thing going.
I don't know. One lander is way too sketchy. I
Yeah,
think.
whatever. It was what I did, and I've seen people keep one-landers, stupid people at our meta that I work with that drive me nuts, and then win off of them like in the lamest way and draw the right lands in exactly the right turn sequence. And
yeah, I mean,
thought
I guess it's possible.
Maybe I could do it with the Scryland, but it didn't happen.
But I guess let's go through your matches. So round one.
First round, I played a kid. He was playing a blue and white Flyers deck, and
crushed him.
Yeah, there wasn't really much to say about it. I guess every creature that he had was flying, and he was trying to play a pseudo aggressive style deck, but it wasn't like his creatures were aggressive enough, and he wasn't putting enough pressure on me to really mount a good offensive. So.
Okay. All right, so it was just a little bit slow. Not too much to be learned from that. He was kind of new to Magic.
Yeah.
So round two was black-red aggro.
And this was mostly mono black with the red for Spike Jester, and I'm sure some other things that I'm forgetting off the top of my head.
Stormbreath Dragon, Mogus's Marauders, probably Lifebane. No, actually, I talked to him about that. He doesn't do Lifebane Zombie. So yeah, Spike Jester, Mogus, Exava, Stormbreath Dragon.
So he's all in on haste, which is just a really good strategy against me in particular. Because a lot of times I'm looking for the detention sphere as a way out, and it's not so good there. But I at least have Essence Scatter and Far and Away. But those count on me getting to that point,
Pain Seer as well.
Yeah. Rapid Hybridization is good, and Doomblade is not good, so I probably swap those two. Last Breath, not that good. Swan Song, also not that good. So this was a really tough matchup because a lot of my removal was actually just not good against him in the first place. I guess Doomblade is okay against one card in particular in his deck, but
Stormbreath.
Yeah, but that really sucks, when that's what you're relying on.
Yeah, you're right.
One card for a 1. So
maybe Ultimate Price.
Yeah, out of the sideboard, Ultimate Price is a good idea if it's switching to black the way that it looked like.
Then you at least can hit Desecration Demon.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I can actually hit, and it might just be a better option. Anyway, that was that. And like I said, the last game I kept a really bad hand, and there was nothing much to be gleaned from that.
Okay.
Then I played another guy that was a little newer to playing competitive Magic. And he was playing blue blackmail. So he, I don't know, there wasn't like a lot that he could do to stop me either. He didn't really. See, the problem with the new players is they never really understand how planeswalkers work in general. So you're sitting there trying to explain how they can kill your planeswalkers, but you're prepared to stop them from killing your planeswalkers, So you're already like giving them this feeling of like a hopelessness, and it really sucks because it's like, well, yeah, I know you want to do that, but then I'm going to stop you, and
yeah, it is. There's like the big hurdle with new players coming into Magic and trying to jump right into competitive. It's even more of like a shock.
Yeah. And having your opponent be the first person to explain a Planeswalker card to you is actually really aggravating, I think, And so, I guess, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe the first line of Planeswalkers, like the Jace and Garruk and those first few, they should be at rare level and put into the core set at rare level, and just be rares instead of mythics, because it's really unfortunate that like new players don't know anything about Planeswalkers, and you know what I mean? it really upsets me because because I love Planeswalkers and I play Planeswalkers deck all the time, and every time I have to explain how somebody is supposed to try and kill my Planeswalkers, and you have to basically tell them, well, this is the card I'm going to use to kill you, and it's going to always generate me one of these really great effects, and you've got creatures and spells that can kill it, but
Yeah,
you
that's
have to
bad.
concentrate your resources on dealing with that now.
So it's interesting that this is the first time that we've had it where you played a couple new players, because we don't, I mean, we don't get a ton of new players all the time, so
Yeah, it's true.
it's kind of unusual. All right.
Anyway, in round 4, I did play a regular guy.
Regular, not a
weirdo. I
weirdo.
meant regular at our events.
Oh, okay.
Not a weirdo.
Not a weirdo like
Yeah.
the new player.
Not a weirdo noob. No, just regular at our events. He was playing blue splash black devotion, and it was really good. His idea was just to put pack rats into mono blue devotion and just go off on pack rat if he can't go off on mono blue.
Or the Master of Waves.
Yeah, and either way he can win basically. And it worked out pretty well for him, and
he's got
it gives him a
removal,
lot more inevitability, I guess, to have pack rat in his deck, and it's something that he can play on turn 2, and unanswered it will kill you on turn 4 or 5. I don't know. It was a cool deck. We had a really cool nail biting game 3, and it was a lot of fun to play against. We were both in top deck mode at the end there, but in the end he got a couple good draws in a row, and I unfortunately did not have the right draw at the right exact time, and didn't get my supreme verdict, which is always the way it goes when you're playing Control anyway. But it was a lot of fun, and did not do well this week necessarily, but who knows? We'll see.
I'm sure the deck's still fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's totally out. It is a tough matchup against Mono Black, though, with their Thoughtseizes and
Duresses and stuff. There's not a lot you can do to offset that.
The Obzidats, too, or Obzidats as well. Rapid Hybridization is my best answer against Obzidat, but against the Thoughtseize and Duress, no, there's really nothing I can do.
Can you go, you can't go into more Heroes Downfall range, just the double black is just too difficult?
Well, it's just that double black, double blue, double white is really odd, because you really want to do Reb, you really want to do Verdict, and you do really want to do Heroes Downfall.
So the blue-white shell is really
but I think it is the blue-white shell is better than... You could do 2 Heroes Downfall. I don't think 2 black is too much to ask in this deck, but I think that going for full play set of Heroes Downfall might be a little too much.
I'd be on board with a couple.
Yeah, I could maybe take out the Last Breath and Doomblade, but then it's those are my 2-drop removal spells, so maybe it's the Far and Aways are better to take out.
Well, you can get them to sack Obzidat with Far and Away, right? So that's pretty good.
And if you just use Far to bounce it off of a whip return, it's gone anyway, And Far and Away also helps to remove Bloodbearing.
And Storm Breath.
Yeah. I mean, I really like Far and Away. I'm a huge proponent for it. Every time I play it, I feel like I want to play it all the time. If I could, I would, but it's just 5 mana is a little much to ask for that effect. Not to ask for it, but to ask to play it consistently.
I see.
But I'm happy to play Far and Away at 3 mana too. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're loaded with removal. I do really like the deck too. I think you maybe just had a bad week, rough week with it. That happens.
It was a weirdo week too, with 2 newer players and 2 really actually regular good players.
It's a cool list though. I really do like the Planeswalker list a lot. All right, let's talk about my PTQ Minneapolis experience. So I went up there with a buddy. We had to get up at 7:45, drove about an hour and a half. You know how it goes, get up kind of early for the PTQ. But we were expecting about 150 people there. That's typically 180, is what I see at PTQs when I go. And GP Richmond happened to be the same exact day as this PTQ, so I was expecting a pretty low turnout. There were 283 attending people at this PTQ, I think, that might actually be the biggest PTQ I've ever been to. I'm not sure, but it sounds about right. It seemed like it was. I mean, there were players literally out in the halls. They couldn't all fit in this huge, enormous room. There were so many players.
Yeah, the convention center is huge.
Yeah, Minneapolis Convention Center is very big, so filling up one of those rooms and having to put players out in the halls is pretty crazy. But so it was gonna be 9 rounds of Swiss. So yeah, very crazy, and it was already an hour behind. So round 1 was because the line for registration was so long that it was they were an hour behind on just starting round 1. So it was like supposed to start at 10, 11 we started round 1. Round 1 of 9. So I played against. Well, let me talk about my list a little bit. So I'm like playing modified red deck wins. It's just like Loyalist Cacklers, Fire Drinker Satyrs, Burning Tree Emissaries, Fire Fist Strikers, Gorehouse Chainwalker, a couple of them, Ash Zealots, then Madcap Skills, Lightning Strike, main decking 3 Chain to the Rocks, and a couple Boros Charm. And then the land base is just Temple of Triumphs and Sacred Foundry for the white, 10 Mountains, and then 4 Mutavaults. So it's very creature aggressive red deck wins, but I've got some removal for big stuff like Polykranos and Desecration Demon and Master of Waves and all of that stuff in Chain to the Rocks, and having Boros Charm for just, ending people. I've had it a lot of times where it's the last card I play for the win, which is always very satisfying. It's just like 4 to finish you off, So the deck plays pretty well in the right meta. I was hoping to play a lot of monsters, and I feel really good about the red-green monsters matchup, and my mono-blue devotion is a coin toss, I feel like, most of the time, which is good for me, because I think mono-blue is a tier 1 deck, and having a coin toss against them with Master of Waves actually feels pretty good. I mean, if I can see my chain, I can stop that onslaught, of Master. Even I've had the back-to-back chain to their answering their Master, which is really satisfying too. So that's kind of what I was hoping to play against. Control, also kind of a coin toss. Game 1, they probably have the edge on me a little bit because I have a dead card in Chain to the Rocks. But post-sideboard, I can burn pretty good and get my creature count at a right place. As long as I have a good burn to creature ratio against Control, I at least force them to have the right answers at the right time. Like, maybe I have a burn heavy hand, so then they keep a hand of Supreme Verdicts and they're not doing anything for them early. Or maybe, I keep a hand that's creature heavy and they have like the negates and stuff if they want to stop my burn strategy post sideboard. So it's really like who sees the better mix of cards. You have to be reactive where I get to be proactive which is nice. But then again, Control has the Sphinx's Rev, so I have to I have to be reactive to Sphinx's Rev to be able to Skullcrack in response.
But you get a few turns at least to wait on the Skullcrack. Like you don't have to really hold that until 5, 6, 7, that's when you really need to be ready to play your Skullcrack. But, early on you can at least commit more creatures to the board if you want to go that route too.
Totally. So I have the tools to combat every strategy, but my main deck is definitely set up mostly for red-green monsters and mono-blue devotion. And maybe Control. So round 1, I played against a Naya mid-range deck, and it seemed a bit unusual. He had to mull to 5 game 1, and I was on the play, so it was a huge advantage for me there. And I demolished him. I think all he got to play was I believe a Witch Stalker, and then I had a Fire Drinker Satyr, and he ended up blocking the Witch Stalker on the Satyr, so I just pumped the Satyr, and so I ate 4 damage to get rid of the Witch Stalker, and was still getting in with some other little dudes. Probably an Emissary and a Fire Fist Striker or something like that. Maybe not a Striker, a Mutavault too or something. But so I was getting in on him there, and I think game 1 actually he may not have done anything because of the mull to 5. I think I just stormed out too fast. Game 2 he played a Chain to the Rocks. And then he played a Voice of Resurgence, and he had Selesnya Charm, and I think that's about all I saw out of him. He had to mull game 2 as well to 6. So I had huge advantage both games in that. And I just really sped out and got there. So that was good. It wasn't like, I didn't have like crazy crusher hands. They were just hands that definitely could beat any sort of slow start. Yeah. So that was good. Felt good on the start. Round two, I played a guy I've played a few times now. I believe his name's Ryan Overturf, something like that. I believe that name might be wrong, but I played against him a few times, and he's a nice guy for sure. It's funny, you remember the players you played in past tournaments. This guy I remembered because he was playing Valakut at that time, and I played against him with an Infect deck. And this was pre the green Infect deck. So I was playing I believe it was Mono Black, and it was Adventurer's Gear, Plague Stinger, Skitherix, and probably Ichor Mirror and stuff like that. So it was it was a bit of a janky deck. This is pre Mirrodin Besieged, actually. This is just Zendikar and Scar's Infect. So I may have been playing black green, actually, now that I think about it in retrospect.
With Groundswell?
Cis Bearer. I remember playing a couple Cis Bearers. It was a kind of janky deck. But yeah. Wait. I don't think.
You didn't play Groundswell?
I don't think Worldwake. Well, no, Worldwake would have been.
If you were playing
I must have. I must have, yeah.
It would have also made sense to play that because that's landfall as well.
No, you're right. It must have been in there. So I wonder what other pump spells I was playing. I really don't know. I actually feel like I was playing that one that had Rebound.
Yes. Praise Vengeance.
Yeah. I think I was playing that too. I had some janky choices in there. But anyway, I beat him that I remember beating him that PTQ or whatever kind of event it was. He just flooded out, and I remember he was pretty unhappy about it then. Not like dickish unhappy, but you could tell he was displeased that he lost to a kind of janky looking Infect deck.
Yeah.
But then he beat me when I was playing a red deck wins at the peak of Cawblade. I was playing the red deck wins with Koth, and I had some interesting main deck choices like Goblin Ruin Blaster and stuff at that time. He was playing. It was weird. I remember it wasn't Cawblade, but he was playing like Gideon, and I want to say his was like a bigger white-red deck. But anyway, this time around he was playing white-red like me, but he had a much better main deck to deal with mine, because my deck is very explosive, but I mean, spot removal is very good against it. So it's more, and there is a lot of spot removal being played right now, but not so much in the red-green monsters, because they just main deck the Mizium Mortars, really, unless there's a Jund monsters. But the red-green specifically does not have, they have to like Domri and stuff. So Madcap Skills is still good against them, because if they Domri, at least they're
trading.
They're trading.
Yeah.
So I can live with that. But Mono Blue Devotion, what do they have for spot removal? Maybe a rapid hybridization.
Usually out of the board too.
Yeah, so they really can't do much about Madcap Skills either, and it's very good against them. So that's kind of why it was just really expecting a lot of that in the field. And this deck was main decking Searing Bloods, which I found, just extremely powerful against me. And then it was like Ash Cell and Mutavault, so that sort of same plan. And then Shock, and I saw Young Pyromancer and Lightning Strike. So
I suppose the Searing Blood makes a little more sense when you have a lot more guys to chump with and stuff like that.
Definitely. So it was kind of a red-white Young Pyromancer deck. And I'm sure Boros Charm was in there too. I never saw a Fire Dancer. I never saw the Boros Charm either, actually. But I lost to that pretty badly. I had to mull both games. I think I even may have mulled to 5 game 1, but it was bad mull. So I lost that one 0-2. I was kind of disappointed. But, I mean, there wasn't anything I could do about it. He just had a great main deck ready for what I was doing, which sucked. So it was kind of, his deck was a little bit roguish too, like mine, I'm sure we were both expecting to play different decks, but he was just better geared to fight my deck than mine was to fight his strategy. Round 3, I played against America Control, which I think had a phenomenal match against me. It was like Anger of the Gods and Supreme Verdict post board. I don't know if he was main decking Anger. I don't think he was. So I think I got lucky game 1, and I sped out a couple guys, and he verdicted me. And I think I was bashing him with Mutavault, and I got him to 3 life, and I had Lightning Strike, and I was about to play it, but he had a bunch of mana open, so I passed, and of course he Sphinxed at the end of the turn, so I killed him in response to his
Sphinx.
Yeah. So that was
the worst way to die for a control player, by the way.
Yeah. So I was really lucky to get that game 1. And then game 2, He was actually pinging me down with a Chandra main deck game 1. He was hitting all my X1s, keeping me off those creatures. So that was bad. But game 2, I sideboarded into more burn spells like Boros Charms and Skullcracks and stuff. And yeah, I think yeah, that's when he was playing Anger of the Gods. So I had to like just shoot out a couple guys at a time and work through some spells. But I just kept going, and then I beat him, and I was wondering why I didn't even realize it. But he had only seen, I believe, one blue source for the Sphinx's Revelation. So he didn't see the second blue source. I think that. So he couldn't cast his Sphinx, and that was ultimately why he didn't do it. Yeah, so I got really lucky. I actually think that guy had a great match against me, and so I was lucky to beat him 2-0. He's really ready for creature aggro. Round 4, I played against Jund Monsters, and I feel like I had a good match here. I kept a hand that was a little bit awkward, and I think in retrospect I should have mulliganed it. I think it was a Chain to the Rocks heavy hand, which is actually good in that match, but it just was not threat heavy enough. I think it was just like a 2-drop and a Madcap skills, so it was just a little bit too light on threats and too heavy on removal, and I think like non-burn based removal, so that was kind of the issue. And it was a good deck that I was playing against. The John Monsters is going to be better against me than the red-green, because they at least have... He was main decking Coursers and Scavenging Ooze, very good against me. He also had Reaper of the Wilds and Polychronos and Domri and Mutavaults. So just a lot of very good value stuff, you know. And post board, he got me really good with a Golgari Charm, killing a couple Fire Fist Strikers, so that was huge. Golgari Charm also would have combated my Chain to the Rocks very well. I actually came close to beating him game 3 with an Act of Treason on an 8/8 Scavenging Ooze, and I actually hit him for like 17 in one turn. And this is after he gained just a ton of life from Courser. So actually game 3 ended in a crazy way. He had 3 green sources open with Scavenging Ooze, and I had 2 creatures in my graveyard. So he hits me down to the point where I'm gonna die the next turn for sure from like a Stormbreath Dragon, and I have to. I have two 2/2 attackers, and he's at 4 life. He's at 4 life. So 3 green sources open with his Scavenging Ooze. I have 2 red creatures in my graveyard, and he's at 4 life. So I attack in. He Hero's Downfall one of them, so he takes 2. So he goes to 2, and that turn I had drawn a Lightning Strike. So do the math on what happens. I was 1 point from killing him, because what happened was I passed the turn. He ate 1 creature in the graveyard, then he tapped the second green source to eat the other one. In response, I Lightning Striked him, and he had 1 untapped green source.
To eat it again.
To eat my last guy, to bring him to 4 life, to bring him to 1 after the Lightning Strike. So it was as close as it possibly could have gotten. It was crazy. But I lost that one 1-2. And then round 5 was a no-show, so I just got a free win on that one. Round 6, I played against Mono Blue Devotion. I beat that 2-1. Felt really good about that. Sideboarded into 3 Searing Blood, which is also a slight change to my sideboard. I think the only change I did, I took out the Electrickery and we're up to 3 Searing Blood. And
do you like Searing Blood more?
yes, a lot more. And I actually think it's way more playable than I gave it credit for. Everybody's jamming Mutavault right now, so it's even like technically, like you're not, but like Blue Eye Control, you could technically hit Blue Eye Control main deck. With Searing Blood.
Their Mutavault? Yeah. That's true.
Which is cool, because you never would really get that opportunity otherwise.
It's like the only thing you can do off of it. Well, I suppose you can kill Elspeth tokens.
Hitting Tidebinder Mage and Mutavault against Mono Blue Devotion is absolutely essential, though.
Yeah.
Even hitting a Cloudfin Raptor feels pretty good.
It is interesting, just being able to tap for 4 mana and get rid of 2 Searing Bloods to kill 2 Elspeth tokens and deal 6 to their face. You know?
Yeah, it's good enough main deck.
To kill an Elspeth that
way. I did end up beating a 2-1. Game 2, he demolished me with back-to-back Master of Waves that went unanswered, so just dead. And then game 3, I had like a Loyal Legionist into a Madcap skills, maybe a Burning Tree Madcap skills, and then he like Tidebinder Mage. Then I remember Searing Blood getting in with Loyal Legionist, or Legion Loyalist and maybe Burning Tree. And then I remember he like detention sphered my Legion Loyalist and got rid of a Madcap skill, so that was good. But then I was just still like drawing gas for creatures, so I was like dropping Fire Fist Striker, attacking with Mutable Burning Tree. So I already had him kind of with the Searing Blood. I already had him at like a decent position, like I think an 8 at 8 or something, and he just didn't play a big enough threat to get back in it. So I was just able to keep him off. So I ended up taking that one 2-1. And then round 7 I played against Esper mid-range. Game 1 he mulched to 5, so I just, obviously very much punished that. He actually had a great deck against me as well, if he had drawn right. It seems like I lost against the matches I was like prepared for, and then I was winning against decks that I would usually lose against.
Yeah.
Because they had bad draws.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's so weird how that works out. But, I mean, this deck was so packed ready to fight me, because it was like main deck Brimaz, which I don't have a good main deck answer to. Chain to the Rocks only. Obsidat, which I can't.
That's like impossible for you to deal with, right?
And Blood Baron, I think, was main deck as well.
Yeah.
Possibly sideboard only, but he at least had them in game 2 for sure. But game 1 he mulched to 5, so I just like turn 1 Cackler or Satyr, turn 2 Madcap skills, and then he just didn't even recover from that. He like devoured.
Like really hard for you.
Yeah, definitely. I have to chain it. So I actually thought, just based on how little I saw out of him game 1, that I was playing against mono black control. So I actually sideboarded for mono black control, where I take out Chain to the Rocks, which actually would have been really good in that against him.
Yeah.
Little did I know. And I brought in like Skull Cracks for life gain, which actually would have still been useful in that match. And I believe I even brought in the Hammer Perforos just on a whim, an experiment. Because I was already, at this point, I was already out of contention for top 8. I'd already lost twice, and my tiebreakers were by round 7 were shit.
Yeah.
They just weren't, I don't even think either of them were in the tournament anymore. So I'd already lost 2 early. And even in 9 rounds of Swiss, there wasn't any 7-2s getting in. So, yeah, I wanted to experiment with Hammer Perforos against a mono black, and I didn't get a chance to see it, but I think that might actually be okay. I'll talk briefly about how I plan to change the deck, because I think I am ultimately going to do a change here and try it out, maybe tomorrow. But he just, game 2, I just swarmed him again. I think he had to mulligan again, so it was like, yeah, they just mulliganed, and I demolished him with, reasonable draws, nothing crazy, just reasonable draws. So, yeah, and then after that, I dropped. The only reason I had stuck around to that point was my buddy that I went with was actually doing really good. He was 4-0 to start, and then he lost the next 3 in a row, sadly. But after that, we just dropped because we weren't in contention, and we just wanted to get home. So it was still fun, though. It was a fun experience. It had been a long time since I'd been to a PTQ. I'm going to talk briefly about the changes I'm going to make, because I don't think that this deck is quite what I need it to be in our meta anymore. Like at the F&M, I played against a couple mono black, and this deck does not do well against mono black. So I'm going to make some changes. I think I'm going to do a more burn-oriented one. I may experiment with Young Pyromancer, like that player was. Basically, I might just drop a lot of the creatures and go for... Even Pyromancer's not good against Bioblight either, though, sadly. I might not do Pyromancer. I was thinking about Phoenix doing that again, because even if Bioblight kills multiples of them, they get to come back eventually. And then I'll probably do...
If it's not tributed, it gets haste and the can return clause. Is that what it is? Phoenix? Oh, you're talking Chandra's Phoenix. Oh my god.
Not the new Phoenix. No.
I was like, why would you play that? Okay, no.
Yeah,
Chandra's Phoenix.
Chandra's Phoenix for sure. So I'm just gonna add a bunch more burn spells. Probably 4 Boros Charm, 4 Lightning Strike. I'm gonna try the Searing Blood main deck because I think I can get behind it now. Maybe just 3 main deck and 1 sideboard or something. But I'd like to do some Magma Jets so I can get better card quality. And I think I'm going to just drop a lot of the creatures and try more burn and see if I can get away with it with the right scry and stuff like that. And I'll actually still main deck Chain to the Rocks, I think, too, because there's still some good stuff that I'd like to hit with it. I don't think I'm going to do the Satyr Fire Dancer thing, and I think I'm going to actually still do Ash Zealot. I think I can still get behind those. And probably not the Burning Trees anymore. They're probably not necessary. Cacklers, Satyrs, probably not either. I found myself sideboarding out Satyr and Madcap skills almost every match. Or at least it felt like I did. I guess not almost every match. Madcap almost every match, I think. Possibly everyone except Mono Blue Devotion. I sideboarded out of Madcap skills. So I unfortunately like it in the matches that I wasn't playing against, and I'm not sure it's a big enough part of the meta. So if people are playing a lot of Mono Black, I think shifting into the more main deck burn heavy one, and then maybe I have more of a creature list out of sideboard, but I don't even know about that. I might just up my burn count in general. Then I guess you fall victim to Thoughtseizes and Duresses like the control deck a little bit. But maybe a way to offset that is having some sort of weird, half-baked creature plan out of the side. Because I can still do Mutavaults and I can do Ash Zealots, a main deck at least. So maybe I can do Pyromancers or something out of sideboard, or maybe I can at least try them main deck and see what I think, because I don't even know what to think about them yet. I probably don't want to main deck the Shocks, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't want to pull back that hard. But I might try a couple War Leaders Helix, but I don't even know if I necessarily want to do that. I think between 4 Boros Charm, maybe some Skullcracks main deck, I would even like that against Mono Black, stopping the Gray Merchant main deck. If everybody's playing Mono Black, main decking Skullcracks I could actually get behind, and
There's
even
like
against
quite
you,
a bit of liking,
stopping Sphinx's Revelation main deck would be pretty insane.
Kills Planeswalkers.
Wouldn't expect that very much either, would you?
All.
So I'm probably going to shift into a more
Bernie.
Yes. So that was my PTQ experience. I did have a good time, and I ended up going 5-2, which really isn't that terrible. It's not too bad. But I guess one was a no-show, so 4-2 of actual games played. And I do actually love the meta, despite not doing great. Look at that. I played against a different deck every round. So I played against all sorts of color combinations. So I love the diversity that I'm seeing right now.
There's a lot of possibilities right now, that's for sure.
It's great. All right, I think we're going to go on to our next segment entitled Weird Harvest. And if you don't know this one, Weird Harvest is the segment where we talk about the old Magic cards. Not necessarily old, just cards from the past that have funny names and funny pictures specifically. And the card's power level is of little concern, mostly to what we're trying to evaluate. But we just want to take a look back at some funny Magic cards that they've done.
This one is really funny too.
Yeah, we stumbled upon this one this evening, and it made us both chuckle.
A bronze and oldie.
Okay, so this one's called Bronze Bombshell, and it's from Dissension, and it's an artifact creature, a construct. It's 4-drop. And it's a 4/1 for 4. And when a player other than Bronze Bombshell's owner controls it, that player sacrifices it. If the player does, Bronze Bombshell deals 7 damage to hammer. It's really funny how obscure its ability is too.
I love that everything about it is 4 except for that part of it too.
Alright, so since this is sort of a visual thing, we need to kind of explain what's going on. Because the name Bronze Bombshell, if you're just an audio listener, maybe doesn't sound that weird to you.
No, it should. It should sound vaguely familiar because the saying is blonde bombshell. Like if you're
really? Okay.
Yeah, if you're like a really gorgeous blonde girl or woman.
Maybe you want to explain the picture.
Well, the picture is some sort of automaton, and this one clearly designed after a female because it has a bronze ponytail, and it looks like it's wearing like a swimsuit. It actually looks like it's wearing a bikini.
And it's walking.
And it's walking like with its hands out in a way
almost like sashaying.
Yeah. It's designed to sashay. Anyway, it also has like a pull pin in the back of it, like a grenade. And then there's a chain leading off camera, presumably from whence it came.
And what's the flavor text of this?
The flavor text is the best part, in my opinion. It says, "Ooh, shiny. Let's pull off the chain and take her with us. Uckle. Gruel Raider, last words." So he didn't get very far with her.
It's funny.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to me that they did that play on words where it's like a bombshell in the, terms of a
Both the
beautiful,
Yeah.
woman is like, oh, she's a bombshell.
Yeah.
And it's such a it's like a contemporary term
Mhm.
too. The last 20 years
Yeah.
we've been probably since the 90s.
Well,
we've
it
been
might
calling-
even be a little older than that, but regardless, it's like within the last century, like it's not antiquated to where like, we think of how magic is from this like mystical kind of medieval Renaissance
Yeah,
time,
exactly. And then it's a bombshell, like she explodes.
Yeah, like literally, it's also a bombshell. Like it's full of parts that will explode.
It's always funny to
The double entendre.
really
Is really key with these.
search
types of
out
cards.
when they try and bring a sense of humor
Mhm.
to the game.
I really like this kind of naming. Like when they can get away with doing something like this, it actually really appeals to me. I know that some people may not like the it's kind of
cheesiness.
it's very groany when you look at it and when you take it all in. It's like groan, But I actually think it's very funny when they can get away with it because so much of the game is taken seriously. It's nice to see a card that can kind of poke fun at like parts of the game, basically.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. Well, I guess there's
And
not.
still, it's a fun card to play with. Great with Zedru if you want
It's-
Zedru as your commander.
Yeah, I guess that's actually a good point. That's funny because I was gonna say its ability seems very narrow, but yeah, I don't actually remember. I didn't remember that ability. It's really funny how.
It's so narrow. I think
Particular
the
it
way
is.
to work it in that standard was with Spawn Broker, which let you exchange a creature you controlled with power
I see.
less than or equal to a creature your opponent controls.
Still sounds
basically.
difficult to do, but 4/1, very interesting power toughness ratio for an artifact creature.
Mhm.
Um,
I feel like it would have been printed as a 4/4 at rare now with an explode yourself ability. Your opponent can't even.
it's possible,
Have it.
definitely. What was the artifact? Is it a trampler that explodes? I believe it was from Return to Ravnica. Yeah, Return to Ravnica.
Oh, Voltaic Construct?
Is that his
The
name?
Juggernaut?
Yeah, I
The
think so.
4-mana
What was
Juggernaut?
his power and toughness? Was that a 4/4?
I think it was a 4/4.
Trample.
And then, it attacked each turn if able.
Yeah,
And then
if
whenever it was dealt damage, you flipped a coin. If you lost, you sacked it. And then whenever it died, you flipped a coin. If you lost, it dealt 4 damage to everything.
That's right. I've played that before. The card was
I
actually,
played that in limited too.
it was playable.
Good in limited, yeah.
but I guess that's a little bit like this. It has to do
Mhm.
with blowing up, but oddly enough, it has to do with blowing up
Yeah.
and flipping coins.
This one doesn't make me think is it necessarily, but that one was clearly like
I
an
see.
is it construct.
Okay. Oh wait, is this one supposed to be?
I don't think it's supposed to be necessarily. This is just plain old construct, but like primarily, I think the artificers on this plane are is it,
Okay, could have been.
But you
was,
can be
wait,
a,
was
you can
this,
be a non-guild affiliated person too.
was Dissension? Is it heavy? Was that or that was Guild
wasn't,
Pact, right?
Yeah.
Or,
No. Yeah. Guild Pact was is it?
Okay. Well, I guess that's all we've got for you this week. If you're a first-time listener, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
And everybody else, have a good week. And I hope to hear some more feedback from you guys on the SeemsGoodMagic card giveaway.
Yeah.
This week the question is, what is your favorite Merfolk card? And I've already enjoyed some of the answers. So, all right, thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
See you later.